Ladies and people out in a park, Andy here, author of the best Tinder guide on the internet. This is the Kill You're Gonna Loser show. Let's fucking go. Something a little bit different today. Not only am I outside, which is something I've been experimenting with quite a bit lately, but also going to do something called podcast tennis with Cam. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to do half of the video and then he's going to watch that and then he's going to give his thoughts and talk about his ideas. And what we're going to talk about here is guys who label themselves as shy and then tell themselves that that is a barrier or a complete fucking deal breaker for working on their goals, especially when it comes to dating. We'll specifically talk about dating. What I want you guys who call yourself shy guys, some of you I hear you call yourselves autistic. Some of you will just say that you're introverted. That's another one that people love to use all the time. You're basically giving yourself an out. You're telling yourself that you don't have to improve this thing. You're just a shy person or you're just an introvert. And so it's going to be harder for you and it's not fair and blah, blah, blah. It can be very easy to slip down into that slope or slip down that slope of victimhood. What I want you guys to start thinking about in terms of shyness, or when it comes to your own shyness, start thinking of it in terms of it's just a skill that you can learn, right? If you're a shy person, it's just that you haven't practiced socializing. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You just haven't actually gone out there and practiced the skills of talking to other human beings. You know, when I first really started this whole working on myself shit, which for me, the first thing I ever worked on was overcoming my depression. I was convinced that I was shy. I was convinced that I wasn't able to talk to other human beings. I was full Captain Autismo. I had agoraphobia. I couldn't leave the house. And I had all of these reasons and excuses why I couldn't fix that. You know, I was just a shy person. It's not something fixable. What I learned by just actually putting myself out there and trying is it's just a skill like anything else. I want you guys to start thinking of yourself almost like you're a video game, or start thinking of life as if it's a video game and you're a character in that video game. You have a list of stats. One of them is social skills. And if your stats are lacking in that area, if you're really antisocial or you're super shy or you're just not that confident when it comes to other people, it's just a skill that you level up. You just sit there and you grind, you know what I mean? You practice talking to other human beings. And of course, you're going to suck at it at the start. It will be fucking awful. You'll do a terrible job. I certainly did. You don't know how to talk to people because you're shy or you're autistic or you're introverted or any of that kind of stuff, or those limiting beliefs about yourself. But it's just a skill that you learn. It really, really, really is. You've been labeling it for so long as something wrong with you. You know, I'm shy or I'm introverted or it's just, I can't do it. But you don't realize that the people who are super social or the people who are introverted, they are just better at a skill than you. They're not a better person than you. They don't have something inside themselves that you don't. They've just practiced socializing more. And every single one of us at some point had never talked to a single other human being, right? When we were a kid or when we were a baby, we'd never talk to another human being. We had to learn how to do that. Some people just naturally took to it better than others. Some people leveled up their skill quicker than others. I'm not saying that you don't have your own challenges or hurdles, but if you sit there and look at people who are extroverted or people who are more social than you and tell yourself that they must be better than you, you're just hurting yourself. And you're letting yourself off the hook and not pushing yourself to go out there and actually improve this thing. So again, I want you guys and girls to look at shyness rather than seeing it as almost like a disability. Some of you motherfuckers talk about it like it's a disability or something. See it as a skill that you just haven't practiced, and go out there and talk to as many people as you humanly possibly can. It can be anyone. It can be you hitting on women that you see. It can be you just doing simple stuff like smiling at every stranger that you walk past. Every time you're in an elevator, make a joke or just say some comment to someone. I did a video a while ago called Talk to Everybody, the World is Your Friend. And in this video, I advocated for leaving the house and talking to every single person that you possibly can when you go outside all the time. This is what I do when I go outside. I would just talk to as many motherfucking people as I can. It's how I learned to be social. It's how I learned to have friends. I just talked to everybody. And I was awful at it. I'm not always great at it. You don't have to be. But so many of you are just putting yourselves in these pigeonhole boxes. You're not spreading your wings and flying because you stick these fucking restrictive labels on yourself. And shyness is just one of them. But you call yourself shy and then you don't have to go out and talk to people. It's almost protective, right? If I can say that I'm a shy guy, then I don't have to go and hit on a bunch of women. Or I get to tell myself that I'm special and that I can take my time with this and I can go way slower than other guys. And guys who aren't shy, well, they have to just get in there and talk to a bunch of women, or they have to go out there and make some friends. But me, I'm special because I'm shy, so I get to take my time with it. It's a defense mechanism, it's a procrastination, and it's you lying to yourself. It's you inventing an extra step, and that's what it really is. When you tell yourself you're shy, what you will then do is say, okay, how do I fix my shyness? You invent an extra problem. You say, before I can go and talk to a lot of women, I have to overcome my shyness. Before I can make friends and have an amazing social life, I have to fix my shyness. You invent an extra step. You don't have to fix jack shit. You as a shy person, or you as an extreme introvert, or you as someone with Captain Autismo, with autism, you can still go out and talk to people. You won't be good at it. I've worked with autistic clients who have been so unbelievably, I don't like using the word terrible, but they were not confident at talking to people. They weren't. And I had to basically teach them how to have conversation skills. But who gave a shit? They threw themselves in there when they didn't even know what they were doing, when they were so shy and literally autistic. And they were like, my mission is to just talk to 100 strangers. And I will learn to work with my autism, or I will get over my shyness, or I will learn to embrace my shyness and not let it hold me back. And that's what a lot of you are doing. You're using your shyness as an excuse, or you're letting it hold you back, and you're not putting yourself out there and talking to the opposite gender, or making friends, or asking for a promotion at work, or just interfacing with the rest of society and really getting out of your comfort zone. And that's what it is. Shyness is a comfort zone. It might sound like it might appear to be the opposite. People will tell themselves, I'm shy and that's very uncomfortable. No, you're shy and that's very comfortable, because it means you get to wrap yourself up in your shyness and your fear of outside, or fear of the outside world. It means you don't have to push yourself and actually go and talk to other human beings. It's very protective. And so the only way through that is to just sort of say, okay, I'm shy. I'm not going to be good at this, but I want to talk to other human beings. I want a social life, or I want a sex life, or I want promotions at work, or I just want to feel like other human beings can actually connect with me and me connect with them. If you want that, you're going to have to get over your shyness. Part of how you're going to do that is exposure therapy. You're not just going to magically take a pill and get over your shyness. The only way to get over it is to go out there and talk to people. This is one of those things that only gets better from exposure therapy. You don't just take a pill that gets you over your shyness. You don't. There isn't one. You're going to have to go out there and talk to other human beings. So give yourself a little pep talk. Do whatever you have to do. Be okay with being shy. Give yourself permission to suck. Tell yourself it's okay if you do a shitty job of this. You don't have to be Captain Super Social. You can go out there and do a terrible job, but put yourself out there and just start talking to other human beings, right? The entire world is out there waiting for you to interface with them. But so many of you are sitting there in the comment section telling yourselves that you're shy or that you're introverted. Essentially what you're doing there is you're saying you don't deserve to have the life you want. You don't deserve to have friends. You don't deserve to have an amazing sex life. You don't deserve to be doing interesting things and going on adventures with other human beings. You're telling yourself you don't deserve those things when you sit there and say that you're shy. I want you guys to have that. If it's something you want, if you want an amazing sex life, if you want an amazing dating life, if you just want to be more confident with human beings, I want that for you. But you're going to have to step outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to talk to more human beings. You don't get better at this unless you level up the skill. Again, to really bring it home, you're not shy. You just haven't practiced socializing. Another way of phrasing that is everybody who's super social, they just practiced it. Think of life as a video game. Think of yourself as a character in an RPG. Your only mission is to grind life, to grind XP. That's all we're doing. Every single thing I've achieved, I sucked at it at the start. I didn't have the skills. I didn't know what I was doing. You think I could talk to women at the start? Fuck no. I was depressed and suicidal and agoraphobic and I couldn't leave the house. All of that shit. I built a social life. I built a sex life. I built a business. I built my own peace and happiness. I overcame my depression and my suicidal tendencies and all of that. I lost weight. I did so many things. How? Because I just went out there and I fucking gave myself the exposure therapy that it takes. You're not going to fix this sitting in some doctor's office talking about why you're shy and it's because, you know, as a kid you were bullied. That stuff might help, but it's not going to be the immediate, or it's not going to be the totality of the fix. You're going to have to go out there and actually do the thing that you're scared of. You're going to have to run towards your fear. And so if you're shy but you want an amazing sex life, you're just going to have to go and shyly talk to a lot of women. It's okay if you mumble. It's okay if you don't know what to say. It's okay if you do a terrible job. That's perfectly fine. I promise it's okay. But you're going to have to go and talk to the opposite sex. If you want a social life, you're going to have to go and meet people. There's a million ways you can do that. I've done so many podcasts about that. You can just go to meetup.com and meet people there. Bumble has a best friends section where you can meet meet people, you just go up to people in the fucking park if you want to. You know, I'm sitting in a park right now. You just walk up to random people and be like, yo, hey, I'm trying to make friends. Would you be my friend? Ask 5 people. One of them will say, fuck yeah, I'll be your friend. Hell yeah. Like, let's go. Most people will be your friend. 4 out of 5 people will say that they'll be your friend. I promise you. People are nice, but this doesn't get better unless you put yourself out there. Don't pigeonhole yourself and tell yourself that you're shy. You're not shy. You just haven't practiced socializing. So go out there and practice. I'll hand it over to Cam now.
So I think Andy hit every point I'd want to hit there from an analysis point of view. A lot of people claim introversion, and a lot of guys use shyness as an excuse to back out of social challenge, or, you know, maybe lie to themselves about what they want socially because they think they are in some way handicapped in this regard naturally. And yeah, this is either not true or it's just something you haven't broken down or gained as a skill. And coming from me, because I am what you would describe as Mr. Social these days. Ever since the age of 24, I went traveling and I hit up like every different party scene I could think of internationally for like a couple of years. Then I settled down in the rave and party scene of Sydney and Melbourne for a couple of years before COVID hit. And I even lived in like a party house for 6 months. I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if I didn't love people. I absolutely love meeting new people all the time. And I'm fucking good at it now. I'm good at getting people to like me quickly. I'm good at figuring out the people that I vibe with and going for them. And cliche intro to the next segment, it wasn't always like this. Like I wasn't always able to easily socialize. I wasn't always able to easily make friends. I was definitely not good at spotting the people who would be good for me as well. And I think a lot of this is informed by my younger years, specifically just after I like hit puberty, turned 16. I have from my younger years what I consider mild. I use the word mild, but you don't want to use the word trauma unless it's like serious. But Andy has this thing where it's like, don't like underplay the things that like affect you, even if you don't think they're like, you know, they're worthy of the label. So I had like mild social trauma for some events that happened to me socially. And I guess my experiences when I was, you know, forming into the adult human that I would become, the man that I would become. So when I was 16, I switched schools and I went from a small sheltered school that my parents sent me to a school that I picked, which had 3,000 students over 2 years. So massive. It was basically the equivalent of going like to college or university, but I went there at 16. And now, part of the reason I went there was because I wanted to have like a better social life than I was having at the sheltered school I was at. I wanted to experience more of life, go to parties, get, you know, the stuff you want to do when you turn 16. Even dating. I wanted to start dating as well. And what I didn't realize was it was going to be difficult making friends in like at that new place. I'd say it took me a good 4 months before I really had like a core group of people that I could go and sit with at lunchtime. 4 months before I could actually go to the canteen and be guaranteed that I'd have some place to sit. That is pretty, that was pretty galling at the beginning. Oh, sorry, that's pretty, I wouldn't say like, I just had a lot of unsuccessful attempts to like bond with people. And at 16, like it should be a little bit easier than that maybe. But I settled in with this group through people that I used to know from like my old school, like my primary school. And to be honest, I was slightly scared of these guys, of this friend group. They were like, you know, a bit more popular than I was. And they were there's a lot of banter. Like there's a lot of like stuff flying around at lunch, all that stuff. And I was terrified of like being embarrassed socially. And when you're terrified of being embarrassed socially, other people can kind of see it, especially when you're hanging out with them. Like you're a bit tense. You don't like get in with the jokes. You don't put yourself forward in the conversations with people. You're just not very confident in how you handle yourself in those situations because you're too terrified to make mistakes and say something wrong and get people like, you know, having a go at you and making you the focus of attention. So I was like, you know, treading on eggshells the entire time I was hanging out with these guys. And I think that's why I didn't really like bond very closely with them. And it kind of like, it very much peaked when they started going on like end of year trips and like holidays and lads holidays. And they basically just went without and didn't invite me. And I was like the only guy like in the group that didn't get an invite to like half of these holidays. They went on a Dublin trip. They went on for like my mate's 21st, not 21st, sorry, his 18th. And they went on like a summer trip to like Marbella. So yeah, I just didn't get invited to this stuff. And it was painfully clear that I wasn't like a valued member of the group, even though I was probably getting fairly close to a couple of people. Just as a total part of the group, I wasn't considered very high up. most likely the bottom lobster of that group. Now, after this, I went to college, and I think after the school experience of essentially having made friends that I thought were friends and then being blanked when they started going on all these trips and holidays together and feeling very nervous and anxious when I was around these people, I figured that college would be a much better experience, a chance to reinvent yourself. Like, I think a lot of people view it that way. And I had the absolute worst year, my first year socially, that you could possibly have. So they put you into flats when you first arrive at university in England. So I was in a flat of 6 people. So we all shared the kitchen together and we all had rooms in this flat. I didn't choose to be with any of them. I don't even know how they really allocated it, but it was me and 5 other guys. And I straight up did not get on with this flat. Me and them just did not meld together. I was going through some shit in terms of I don't know, I may have had depression. My anger management was bad. And every single guy I had issues with, essentially. And it was like on nights out, I would essentially be avoided. They would avoid me. I would avoid them. It was a bit of I kind of wanted to be friends with them and I made an effort. And I still went out on nights out with these people. But it was pretty clear that of the people in that flat, it was me that wasn't really the well-liked person. It was very similar to my experience at school, where I was like the least popular of the group, but still somehow included for some reason. Eventually, it came to a head, an even more like galling situation than when I got ignored for holidays at school. This time they were like deciding whether or not to like room up together for a house in the second year. Because after your first year, you leave the student accommodation you get given and you go and find your own accommodation in the city we were in. And it's kind of assumed that your first year flat probably becomes your house in second year unless you make really good friends elsewhere. And I'd made like no friends elsewhere. The only guys I really knew were these guys. They were the guys I hung out with, even though we didn't really get along that well. And essentially they wrote me a letter, all of them together, saying that they would be living together next year, but they weren't inviting me. And that was the social event that I think I remember the most in terms of just like being told you're just like not, you're not the guy that anyone wants to be around. You're not the guy that they want to be friends with. And that was, one of the more impactful social like memories I have when it comes to dealing with other people. And I'd say around this time, following my school experience at the age of, I was 19, I think I hated people at this point. I think I hated most of the people that I saw on a day-to-day basis. And I really didn't make more friends in that year after this because I decided that I wasn't good with people. I wasn't good at making friends because of all the evidence that I had. And I think you maybe need to look at how your social life has gone in your life and see if there are any things that happened, any potential stories that you tell yourself from the things that have happened that may be informing your decision that you are bad socially, that you are introverted, that you are shy. These are things that could have happened. Like, go back through your formative years before you became an adult, before you, like when you were in college, all that stuff. Go back over those years and see, are there things that are informing the stories I tell myself now? Because it's really important. That's what they do in therapy. That's what Andy does with his clients. Like, he goes over this stuff. Like, we'll go over this stuff in the group. And it took me a while to get over this experience. But I did, like I made it a goal to get good socially, to make friends, to not only be able to meet and make friends with anyone I wanted to, but also be able to pick people who would be great friends for me, to be able to have my pick socially. It's very similar to like dating. It's like we want to be able to have an abundance so that we have our pick of the dating pool. And it can be the same with friends. And it took me a while. From the age of 19, I'd say I wasn't amazing at this until I started traveling, which is when I was like 24, when I threw myself in the deep end. It took me 5 years to get to a point where I was like confident enough to then go and travel. And even then, beyond there, it was a case of, improving my skills by living in hostels, by going out on a lot of nights out. Like, the more nights out I went on, the more comfortable I got with that. And it's very similar with friends. Obviously, you can meet people on nights out. So it's like those two things are connected. So yeah, it's one of those things where eventually with repetition, it doesn't really matter how long it takes. As I said with me, this is like 16 to 24. So if my maths is right, that's 8 years it took me to get good at this. And now I'm very good at it. Objectively so. Like, I'm just good at making friends with people. Yay me. Gold sticker. But as I said, there were traumatic events or mildly traumatic events that informed the reason I hated people and thought I was bad with people. It wasn't like there was no evidence. The problem is actually usually that there is evidence in your life that you need to overcome with the work you're going to do. With the plans that you may have to work through past events that inform your stories. And that's really important. And Andy has a lot of content about that, about reworking through past stories that you tell yourself. I just kind of wanted to say these stories because like, no matter what you've been through, no matter how badly you've done with this stuff, it is fixable. It is something you can go out there and do. Like I did the approach anxiety program, and that really taught me that strangers were okay to talk to. And like that really helped me when it came to, just the ability to start conversations with anyone I meet. Just because I did that I was going up and asking for the time for like 2 weeks and like high-fiving random strangers. It was meant to get me over my approach anxiety, but like that experience really got me over my stranger anxiety. So did hostels. Living in hostels, obviously you have to meet new people every day. You have to like make very quick decisions on whether people are worth your time. Good skills to have. And yeah, going on a lot of nights out. If you want to be a night scene guy, you're going to have to be good at this stuff, like social, all that stuff. I don't think lone wolfing it on nights out is you don't look very high status when you're out there and all you're doing is just like spam approaching girls. Like I'd hope that you were good at talking to random people on nights out, meeting people, forming groups, that sort of stuff. That's the kind of night scene guys I want to see. The guys who are Mr. Social, Mr. Ability to talk to everybody. And you just need to get reps in. You just need to get reps in with this stuff until you're good at it. Like Andy said, all of this may be a story. You're maybe not shy. You may not be naturally introverted, shy. Did he say autistic? He did say autistic, but this stuff may not all be true. You have to find out. It's like repetition, repetition, repetition. It's just like the gym. Get out there, get meeting people. You will get good at this. It took me 8 years. So if you keep at it, you will get there eventually. Okay. Hope you enjoyed podcast tennis. Peace out.